Hi, and welcome to TXDZNY. On today's show, I'm going to be ranking my top 5 moderate resorts on Walt Disney World property. Now, I chose to do moderate for this video because I pretty much already have done my top 5 favorite deluxe resorts. That was when I did my top 5 favorite Walt Disney World resorts in whole, and they all were deluxe resorts. So this one, I'm just going to be concentrating on the moderate resorts and ranking my top 5. And in my next video, I'll be doing a ranking of my value resorts at Walt Disney World. So what are the moderate resorts at Walt Disney World? Those are going to be the resorts that aren't going to be as expensive as the deluxe resorts, but are going to be nicer than the value resorts. So it's a good median. These rooms are going to be anywhere between about $250 to around $500. I'll be telling you roughly because it depends on season and stuff like that. Roughly about if these resorts I'm going to be bringing up are going to be on the lower or the higher end of those scales. Now, I am going to be throwing a couple different resorts into this. Disney, when you pull up their resorts, they have Art of Animation as a value resort. I've noticed when I was planning people's Disney vacations, and even when I've looked for my own, that Art of Animation normally is more like a moderate price level. It is on the lower end of the moderate, but it really isn't as cheap as the value resorts like Disney likes to advertise them as. So I'm going to be putting Art of Animation in this pool of moderate resorts that I'm going to be ranking. Two other resorts I'm going to be bringing up in this, which are going to be including one, is going to be the Swan and Dolphin. These are a couple of our favorite resorts that we like staying at, and they are generally at moderate level price level. So I'm going to be including them on this list, and I'll get into these resorts when I'm doing my rankings. So I'm going to get this list started now. So at 5, I'm going to have the Caribbean Beach Resort. The biggest pro to the Caribbean Beach Resort is that it connects to the Skyliner. So you have multiple ways to get to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. So you still have to take the bus system to Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom, but Skyliner is a mode of transportation for you to get to Hollywood Studios and Epcot, which is a huge pro when you're trying to get home in the evenings and trying to get to the park in the mornings. Obviously, there'll be lines and things like that, like there are for buses, but it is an easier way to access both those parks, which makes it a huge plus for transportation. Starting this list at 5 with Caribbean Beach, it would be a good time for me to add that a big thing that separates moderate resorts to value resorts is that they do have some table service dining. With value resorts, you have none, and with deluxe, you have several different options. But at moderate, you might have one or two at the resort. So at the Caribbean Beach Resort, you're going to have your quick service like you're going to have at every Disney resort. You're going to have Sebastian Bistros and Spyglass Grill, which are two table service options. I said there's going to be food served at pools and bars and stuff throughout the resort. But those are their two table services that they do offer there. Being a Caribbean beach kind of theme there, they are going to have some seafood, and it's going to be kind of more in that direction when it's coming to their menus. The lobby of the Caribbean Beach Resort over the last few years has gone over a little bit of a remodeling and is really, really beautiful. So it is really nice when you're walking into the resort. The negative is that the rooms aren't anything worth talking about. It's not any crazy Disney theming, nothing to really blow you away inside the room. And the resort is quite large, so it's very spread out. So it does make getting around the resort, if they happen to put you in a room that's far away from the lobby where a lot of the dining options and such are, it can be a pain to get around the resort. But that's why it's a moderate resort, not a deluxe resort. And not that this is a bad thing or anything, but it is a very Florida vibe when you're there, which a lot of people coming from maybe the north and things like that, and that's exactly what they want. But it's a very like in general type Florida vibe kind of there. I happen to like it. I'm always for palm trees and beaches and stuff like that, so I like the vibe there. But it's a vibe that you get at non-Disney resorts as well, being in Florida. It's kind of like if you've ever been to Old Key West, it's just kind of like a very Florida kind of theming there, even though it's supposed to be Caribbean themed. It does have a lot of Florida vibe to it. Now, what Caribbean Beach does have is a really nice pool. It's a very beach and Caribbean type feel to it. Kind of pirates theme too. And it's one of the better pools. It's probably my favorite moderate pool there is. So they have that going for them. If you're someone who goes to the pool quite a bit on your vacations, that could be something I could decide if you want to choose Caribbean Beach over some of the other moderates, because its pool is very nice and is one of the better moderate pools. The pricing on Caribbean Beach Resort is going to be about middle of the pack, depending on time of the year. You can normally get it sometimes in the upper 200s, low 300s, but if you're going into crowd time, expect it to be a little bit more than that. So that's about the price range you'll generally see it. At 4 on this list, I'm going to have Coronado Springs Resort. So Coronado Springs is its own resort, but they also are packaged in with Gran Destino Tower. I'm not going to focus too much on Gran Destino Tower in this video. It is a beautiful resort, but the price level on Gran Destino Tower is generally going more towards the deluxe, and rightfully so. It is a very beautiful resort, and it's one of the newer resorts. So it has every right to be a little bit more expensive than the other moderates, but it is a resort that doesn't connect to any modes of transportation to go to any of the Disney parks. So it is bus everywhere, even though it is more on the deluxe side. So I'm going to concentrate more on the actual just Coronado Springs Resort, more so than Gran Destino Tower. Just like all the resorts on this list, they're going to have quick service options at Coronado Springs. They also have some table service restaurants there. You're going to have Three Bridges Bar and Grill, which is a really cool little restaurant out there in the middle of the lake in the resort. They also have Rick's Sports Bar, which is the best way I can explain. It's kind of like how the ESPN Zone was on the boardwalk before it closed. And they have Toledo's Rooftop restaurant, and then Maya Grill, which is more of their more popular-ish one, if you want to say that. So they do have several different options there, spread out through Coronado Springs and Gran Destino Tower. The rooms here are actually really nice. They were just refurbished not too long ago. So I think it was about like 5 years ago or so. So they're kind of updated. A negative to it, much like Caribbean Beach Resort, is that the resort is very spread out. So you're going to be, to get to the lobby and some of these dining options might not be that close for you. You could always request to be close to the lobby or in certain buildings, but you never guaranteed it. So it is a spread out resort. So as I said, it is a resort that doesn't connect to any modes of transportation. So it is a bus system everywhere, and being that it's a larger resort, it is gonna maybe have multiple stops even within inside the resort to go somewhere. So you got to plan that extra time coming home and getting to the parks, because it might take you that extra, 15 minutes or so than some of the other Disney resorts. They have a lot of conferences at this resort, so it can get crowded. But being that that might be crowded inside the resort, sometimes the walk-ups for dining might be a little bit more difficult. The stuff like quick service and stuff like that. But most of those people are going to be at the resort doing their conferences, so they're not going to be in your way too much and getting to and from the parks. But it is a crowded resort for conferences. The pool I have as just okay here. It's I'd say an average to an above average pool. It's not going to blow you away with anything, but it's plenty good enough if you're just trying to do a nice relaxing pool day or take some time off midday in between parks or something like that. Overall, it's just an okay resort for me. If you can try to get the Gran Destino Tower, that's always worth looking at, because you can see that price fluctuate, and you are kind of getting a deluxe kind of level resort if you are staying at the Gran Destino, and it's not as expensive as some of the other deluxes, but you are not going to have any transportation to any of the Disney parks. But it is worth always checking to see. Sometimes you can see that price dip to more to what a regular moderate would be. So always check out Gran Destino Tower, and Coronado Springs as a whole is a beautiful resort. It's just very big and spread out. At three, I'm gonna have Port Orleans. I'm gonna package Port Orleans, Riverside, and French Quarter together in this one. I'm not gonna separate them. I'm just gonna have Port Orleans as a whole. They're right next to each other. No, they're not like don't share a ton of things, but they're very similar, obviously, in both very Louisiana, New Orleans vibe and style at both of these resorts. I normally tell people that Riverside is a little bit better if you have kids, and French Quarter is a little bit better if you don't have kids. Not that either one isn't good at for the opposite, but I feel like Riverside is a little more welcoming to kids. It's a little bit bigger than the French Quarter, and um, it just seems like it's more stuff for kids to do there. The theming is really good at this resort. You know, different resorts at Disney have better theming than others, in my opinion. I think the theming of Port Orleans is great. I do love that New Orleans vibe to it, and some of they really try to capture a lot of the food options that Louisiana and New Orleans offers, and they really have just the whole decor there, really embracing the vibe of New Orleans and Louisiana, from just how the rooms look from even the outside, um, to just the restaurants and the decor of the whole resort is really nice. So I think Disney Imagineers did a great job in designing this Disney resort for moderate. Riverside offers princess rooms, which we have stayed in before, and they are just that little extra bit of magic um, for a room for you in Disney. You know, they have some lights that light up behind the beds. Has a little more Disney theming to the rooms than a regular room at Riverside or Port Orleans. Really recommend it because it's not too much more per night for these rooms. So often it's only about $30-$40 more a night. So, you know, if you're only staying like 4 nights, it's definitely worth that, you know, 120, $150. It might be extra for those rooms. Now they're only a select amount of them, so it's not like it's always going to be available for you. But if it is available, I do highly recommend it, especially if you have little girls who love princesses. I have the pools at both these resorts about above average. They, I do think that French Quarters is a little bit better, but they're both very nice. The kids love both of them. It is back by the pool areas. It does kind of embrace like a whole kind of swampish type theme. So we have noticed that it does seem that this resort does have a little bit more like mosquitoes and stuff like that, which I guess kind of goes along with the theme of New Orleans and Louisiana. But be on the lookout for that. But it really, the whole vibe around the pools is still very cool, where kids enjoy, where it has good slides and stuff like that. Port Orleans, both Riverside and French Quarters, modes of transportation to the parks are only bus, and much like the previous moderates that I mentioned in Caribbean Beach and Coronado, Port Orleans can be a little bit spread out as well, so expect multiple stops if you are taking a bus system. But Port Orleans, Riverside, and French Quarter both offer boats to Disney Springs, which is a little added bonus for that. So you can't get to the parks from there without taking the bus, but you can get to Disney Springs, and it is a cool little boat ride over to Disney Springs if you wanted to do that. It's a kind of taking you through a back riverway, which most people haven't been on unless they've been back by those resorts. So it does have an additional way to get around Disney just to Disney Springs. So that's a little added bonus for the Port Orleans resorts. Now, Port Orleans, being that they're split up, and it does have the boat system to Disney Springs, it doesn't seem to have as many table service restaurants. Maybe it's because it has that boat system to Disney Springs, or that it's the two resorts spread apart. But Riverside does have boat rides, which is a very kind of southern foodish type dining option, which is a table service. And at French Quarter, you have Scat Cats. And I'm mentioning this, it is a quick service, not a sit down, but it is where you can get beignets now. I do see that changing here in the summer. And when Tiana's Bayou Adventure opens up in Splash Mountain, where Splash Mountain was in Magic Kingdom, uh, I do expect some sort of beignet shop or something being opened up over there. But as of right now, Scat Cats is the only place that you can go get beignets, and they do Mickey shaped beignets, which is a cool little added bonus. So that's something cool that they have over there at French Quarter. But they have, like every moderate, they do have um, some quick service options and stuff like that, and bars throughout the resort. Pool bars and quick bites you get at the pools as well. So it is a overall really good dining area too, with some southern foods and beignets and stuff like that. Overall, we love both the Port Orleans resorts. It is, if we're trying to go on a budget, sometimes a resort that we look at because we have stayed there several times. We actually, when we got married at Walt Disney World, and we had to book room blocks for people, and just told everyone pretty much what the discount would be. Most of them chose Port Orleans, and they either stayed at Riverside or French Quarter. So, and they all enjoyed it. So it is an option that I think is a good bang for your buck, because it is a lot of times on the lower end of the moderate resorts, and you really are going to have a good time and really enjoy the theming there at French Quarter or Riverside. So now I'm going to get into my top two, and these two are the kind of the X factors that if you go to Disney's site and you pull up moderate resorts, neither one of these two resorts are going to pop up. I'm including them in there, and not it's not an insider tip. I'm just letting you know that Art of Animation, which is about to be number 2 on my list, is listed as a value, but when you go to booking, it is often going to be leaked more into that moderate price. So I'm kind of giving you a heads up on that on this top 5. So it is a value resort, but I am putting it in moderate because of its pricing once you go to checkout and everything like that. So why I have it at number 2 is I love the theming at Art of Animation. I think it's just a great resort to take a family to, especially if you have kids. You're going to get exactly what you think of when you're going to get a Disney resort. It's going to have a lot of your classic movies, decor everywhere, sketches in the lobby. Um, it's just going to be what you think of if you're going to book a Disney resort. This is going to be the resort that you're really going to feel like, oh wow, I am at Disney, and this is what's different than just staying somewhere different. Um, a huge pro also to the Art of Animation, that it also, like Caribbean Beach Resort, is along the Skyliner. So you're going to have that added way to get to Epcot and Hollywood Studios rather than just the buses. So that makes it a little bit of a better resort for convenience from getting to and from the parks. The theming doesn't stop at just the resort's decor around the lobby and throughout the resort. It goes into the rooms at this resort. You're gonna have Little Mermaid rooms. You're gonna have Cars rooms. You're gonna have Finding Nemo rooms. You're gonna have Lion King rooms. All types of rooms here that are gonna cater to different size families. Some are suites. Some sleep more than others. But you're gonna have that Disney theming throughout your room, and every bit of the room is gonna have a Disney theme to it. So it's one of the only resorts there that you really feel like you're engulfed in the Disney vibe the whole entire, from you when you check into the resort and while you go into the parks and everything. You're just, you're at Disney, which is great for kids and even for like first time goers or something like that, where you feel like, hey, I'm not just staying at a generic hotel and I'm on a Disney trip. A negative to this resort being that it's listed as a value resort, even though it's often moderate prices, is that it doesn't have any table service dining. So that's what you get with the value resorts, is you're not going to have any table service options. So being that it's listed in that price range, it's only going to be your quick service. But you're only a quick Skyliner away to the boardwalk and stuff like that if you want to go somewhere or any of the other Disney resorts, as well as to the parks. So there are other ways to go eat at some nicer restaurants than just eating at the quick service when you're at like a Skyliner area hotel or something like that. But that is a drawback, is that you only have quick service options for the Art of Animation. Lastly, the pool here isn't, I don't think it's anything great, but kids do love it because all the decor around it, just like the whole resort, has a lot of Disney theming to it. So that when you're just looking out and throughout the pool area, there is a lot of Disney theming. So I mean, after all, if you're going there with kids, it's about the kids, right? So if the kids like the pool, then you like the pool, right? So um, I don't think it's anything great, but the kids do love this pool, and so it's going to be rated as probably some of your kids' favorite pools on Walt Disney World property. But it is kind of just average, and it can be very noisy because it is a very um, kids-based resort. So if you're going there as adults and all that, I don't really recommend that because there are going to be a lot of kids in the pool, and it's a large pool. There's going to be splashing and everything like that. So it might not be your best choice if you're going without kids or if kids with noise and splashing and stuff. It's going to agitate you. So at number one on my list, I'm going to have what is actually not a Disney hotel, in the Swan and Dolphin hotels. These are two of my most favorite hotels on Disney property. I'm including them on this list because I just think they're the best deal at Disney that you can get. You're getting the pricing of a moderate resort with the Swan and Dolphin, but you're getting the deluxe location and deluxe dining options, which that's what makes the price difference from value moderate to deluxe is having that location and dining options. So with the Swan and Dolphin, you're getting everything a deluxe does. The only thing you're not getting is a Disney theming from the second you walk in the door. It's a Marriott owned hotel, so it's going to be like you're going to a Marriott hotel. The only theming you're going to really have Disney related is going to be your gift shops and stuff like that are going to have Disney stuff. They do have a Disney help center there. Sometimes you'll see the elevators have some decor. You might have just a couple things, but you're not going to feel like you're engulfed in a Disney resort while you're there. They do also offer a different bus system to and from the parks, but it does run very similar to the Disney ones. Or you could always just walk over to the yacht club or the boardwalk or the beach club and use their modes of transportation if you wanted to. Um, the big pro to it is that you are just like you are at the yacht and beach club and the boardwalk. You're just steps away from Epcot, where you can be inside Epcot in 10 minutes and you can be home from Epcot in 10 minutes. And same goes for Hollywood Studios, where you're just about a 15-20 minute walk to Hollywood Studios to and from the park, or you can hop on the boat because the boat will take you there. It's one of the stops for the boat along uh, the lakes there, as well as you could walk to the Skyliner to go to Hollywood Studios, but you'd be backtracking to do that. So I don't really recommend that. So I recommend taking the boat or walking to Hollywood Studios from the Swan and Dolphin. But that location that you're getting is just our favorite location of all the Disney hotels, even deluxes at Walt Disney World on its property. And I'll be 100% honest with you guys and girls that this is the first resort whenever we're planning on booking a Disney trip. This is the very first resort I look at pricing at. The pricing can vary. I've booked this room for under $200 before as where it's in the value resort, but I've also seen it pop up where it's well into the deluxe um, price range. So it can vary based on times of the year and how early you're booking. Being that it's the first resort that we check, obviously we've stayed here a lot. We've stayed at either one of these two hotels more than anywhere else that we've stayed at. We don't even really prefer one to the other, the Swan or the Dolphin. Really, we just book whatever one's cheaper for the dates that we're going because they're both very similar and offer very similar things. So that decides which one we're going to book. A big thing to note with staying at the Swan and the Dolphin is that they do honor pretty much everything as if you're staying at a Disney resort. So you will get to book those lightning lanes when Disney resort guests do. You do get early entry into the parks like Disney guests do. So you're going to get all the perks pretty much as a Disney resort guest does. So it's pretty much recognized almost as a Disney resort, even though it's not. So you do get those added perks on your trip. So make sure you utilize them, even though you're not actually staying at a Walt Disney World resort. So like I said, the best part of this resort is the location and the price for its location. And I also touched on that the dining options. And this is where you're really getting a lot of options between how close the Swan and the Dolphin are to each other, so you could utilize both. They are both on the My Disney Experience app, so Disney does recognize them pretty much as Disney dining options, even though they're technically not. But you do have to get advanced dining reservations from these ones on the My Disney Experience app. But they have some of the best restaurants on Disney property, even though they're not Disney themed and not inside the parks or Disney resort. Um, and some of these restaurants are just incredible. And we've pretty much tried all these, whether it be that we just came home a little bit early on a night because we had a long trip, or we're eating lunch there or ate breakfast there. A lot of these options are very well-rounded and offer different palates for different people. So my favorite is Shula's Steakhouse. I'm a big steak person, and Shula's Steakhouse, while not obviously Disney themed, is one of the better steaks on Disney property. So don't skip. I know that Shula's is a chain restaurant, and I try, like a lot of you, try not eating at chain restaurants while I'm at Disney World. But it does seem a little bit different when you're at the Swan and Dolphin eating at Shula's Steakhouse. And they also have Todd English's Blue Zoo, which my wife loves. So we've been there several times for a different type of palate with that. We've also done Il Molino. That's actually some of my family members' favorite restaurant there. A great Italian restaurant that's just a good vibe in there, and has incredible food in a bar area. You're also going to have Amare, which is a really, really nice place to dine, as well as Garden Grove, which is more of a lower, it's not as fancy for dinner. We've only been to Garden Grove for breakfast, and it's really, really nice there. And then you have Kimonos, which is also a really good restaurant. They have several others as well. Lots of quick service options and everything between the two. Their pool area is very big, so they have lots of different options out there as well. You're gonna have bars throughout the two hotels, so it's a really good vibe. I'm not including the Swan Reserve on this list because Swan Reserve is for sure getting into that deluxe price range. So that's why I didn't include the Swan Reserve on this list, which does have some great restaurants. But being that you're at the Swan and Dolphin, you do have access to those Swan Reserve restaurants there. And so that's always a nice little easy walk across the street pretty much to go to the Swan Reserve restaurants. But that's why I didn't include them in this list as a number one, because it isn't really at moderate pricing. All in all, Swan and Dolphin, for the bang for its buck, is actually my favorite resort in all of Walt Disney World, with factoring money. Um, Without factoring money, it's going to be the Yacht and Beach Club and Polynesian, some of those resorts. But um, factoring money, the Swan and Dolphin for sure is our number one. So that's going to be my top five for these moderate resorts, which I did kind of alter, but it is kind of telling you what the price range is gonna be more realistically. So you're gonna have Caribbean Beach Resort at 5, Coronado Springs at number 4, Grand Destino Tower leaking more to that deluxe type price range. Port Orleans Riverside and French Quarter at number 3. Number 2, Art of Animation, which is listed as a value, but is going to be more along the moderate price range. It's going to be on the lower end of the moderate price range, but it is going to be more in that area. And then the Swan and Dolphin, both those resorts that normally, in general, will fall in that moderate price range. So that's my top 5. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and I will be doing a video on the value resorts coming up. So, and giving some money saving tips along with it. So, look for that video coming up. Thank you for watching. Bye.